Welcome, everybody. I am Dr. Mike Headlee, and with me is Dr. Gordon Fimreite. Welcome, Dr. Gordy.
Hey, Dr. Mike, you have a guest. We've had Dr. Akande here before, but I'm going to let you introduce him again. And Dr. Akande, thanks for joining us again for part two. So looking forward to this discussion.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Tokunbo Akande is a board-certified pediatrician. He is duly trained, a fellow in the integrative medicine and Ayurveda. So last time you were doing training, but now I believe you're certified in Ayurveda. So catch us up to speed real quick on you're done with that training and what you've been studying lately.
Yeah, so I did finish my training. I got a master's degree in Ayurveda from the Maharishi International University. And this I obtained during my integrative medicine fellowship. So the integrative medicine fellowship curriculum came from the Arizona University aspects of the program. So yeah, I did get that. And I guess what I'm working on now is in making this a practical component of my day-to-day work, as well as making it a practical lifestyle thing that I practice for myself as well, which, as you both know, can be a work in progress sometimes.
Absolutely.
Dr. Akande, I'm going to jump in and ask you a question because some of our viewers are going, oh, I've heard of Ayurvedic, but I don't know what it is. If you could simply define it for our audience, and just maybe tell us where does it come from and what does it mean? Love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so it's a compound word, Ayu and Veda. So Ayu is like knowledge, Veda is life, so knowledge of life.
Love it.
And it's from India, and it's an ancient medical practice or traditional medical practice that aims to teach lifestyle things that impact health, that results in a healthier life. I guess that's the simplest way I can put it.
The other thing that I learned, I just did a quick research, and it dates back to 3,000 to 5,000 years, making it one of the oldest medical systems in the world. Remarkable.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to just do a quick recap and follow up with, you gave us some really powerful recommendations on our last podcast about digestion and how Ayurveda recommends certain digestive practices for all body types, eating slower, mindfully, because, gosh, I've been a chiropractor over 30 years. The first 10 years, I didn't hear as many people talking about IBS and Crohn's and digestive and gas and bloating. And I pulled up an article today, nearly half of US adults will be obese by 2035. So that's a huge issue. When you're obese, that's a gut issue as well as other things. So I was wondering if you could just recap that. And then I want to just have a really great conversation about our next topic. So tell us a little bit about your recommendations for digestion through Ayurveda principles.
I'm going to go a little bit off script and you'll see why as I talk. But, digestion from the Ayurveda standpoint goes beyond what we put in our mouth, because digestion is like is the process of processing things, right? So we process the foods that we ingest through our mouth, but then we also ingest other things emotionally, psychologically, through our skin as well. So everything has to be digested in some way. So my recommendation here now is from the food standpoint, very, very simple, small meals rather than heavy meals. So eat till you're about 80% full, then stop. Eating at regular times and eating in alignment with the natural cycles of time. So breakfast, most adults can skip breakfast, but for children, you want to start them off with something that has a good amount of protein, but light food, not too heavy. Then lunch is when you want to eat your heaviest meal. That's because that's when your Agni, the digestive fire from the Ayurveda belief system, that's when it's highest. So it aligns with when the sun is also highest in the sky. So that's when you do your heavier meals. And when I say heavy meals, not in terms of volume, it's always 80%, but in terms of the digestive needs. So your proteins can come here, your heavy carbs and all of that, cheeses, if you're somebody that eats dairy. Those foods that are harder to digest, you want to do it when your digestive fire is highest at lunchtime. And lunchtime in Ayurveda timeline is between 10 and 2, but like in the middle is noon, so 12 noon. And then dinner is a light dinner, and then no snacking after dinner. So you want to be done with your dinner by 7, because again, your digestive fire is winding down. So after 7, it's like not the greatest amount you have to digest a heavy food. And the belief in Ayurveda is that from sundown till the next morning, your body continues to digest and process the things you were exposed to during the day. So you want to have enough time for that to happen and enough capacity so that you're not taking energy away from other stuff to digest heavy foods. But if your food is light and there's no snacking, you can digest it, be done with it, and still have a good sleep, good ability to recover, to restore, and then by morning you're fresh, you're ready to start your day. So that's for the food aspect. Then the digestion for the emotional and psychological, if you listen to the news today, there's a lot going on with the Epstein files, with the ICE situation in Minneapolis. And we have this go, go, go culture. So we see this news or we hear these things happening and you're somehow traumatized, maybe not to the full extent if it's not something that hits close to home for you. But for those that have had, trafficking in their families or in a friend, that can be really triggering. One needs to also take time to process that because the body is one. So processing all that, taking the time, if you need to talk to someone, talk to a therapist, talk to your friend, vent, journal, deep breaths, all that. So processing the psychological aspect. And in terms of the other things, toxins or whatever we rub on our skin, the way to process that is to avoid it as much as possible. So like look at labels, check things on an app if you're not familiar, look at your closet and throw away things that need to be thrown away. So yeah, that's my recommendation on digestion, like more broadly than the last time we spoke.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that because I believe, nutrition isn't just what you eat, it's what you eat and digest and process and assimilate and work through that. And so what's been on my mind lately and what's been kind of bothering me a little bit is what you said a little bit earlier, how stress, it's a big topic, or anxiety and things can really affect digestion. And I have been seeing a lot of young people that say they have anxiety, and I hear that from physical therapists and other people and parents. And as a pediatrician, I would like to dive into that a little bit about anxiety and stress for the young people and maybe give them and or parents and or just have a discussion about that. What are the trends that you've seen when you were seeing patients, and what's your feel about the stress of young people today?
It's a lot. I would say there's a good amount of teenagers, even preteens, which is kind of shocking. You'll see 5-year-olds with anxiety. So it's way commoner than one would expect. I feel like we're still emerging from the throes of the pandemic when things just reached a tipping point. I do not have like one thing that I can point to that's causing this. I feel like it's a multifactorial issue from, the diet, the irregularity of our cycles, the news, like I talked about, social media. There are various studies out there that show that teens, and this effect is more with female teens than male teens, susceptible to developing anxiety as a result of exposure to social media. And even in us adults, with exposure to social media, people are presenting their best foot forward. And sometimes you might be tricked into believing that that's how some people live. Everything is perfect and polished, and you start to beat yourself down for the things that are not perfect in your own life. So it's really an unrealistic expectation to feel like everything will be picture perfect all the time. And that really affects our morale. It affects our beliefs in ourselves, our sense of self-efficacy or sense of success. And there was someone that said, or maybe I read somewhere, when they try to describe anxiety in simple terms, it's a fear of something that hasn't happened, right? So we're not living in the moment. We're not being present. And with irregular cycles and irregular schedules, it's really hard to be present. And of course, that skyrockets levels of anxiety.
You touched on so many good things. I have one more follow-up, and then I'll let you ask a question, Dr. Gordy, because I started watching American Idol, and they had a teenager on there, a female, that was singing a song in memory of a 13. It said 13 forever because she heard of a girl that got bullied in school and took her life. And so the mom of that 13-year-old was on the show watching this other, I think she was 15 or 16-year-old, sing this song dedicated to this girl who passed because she was bullied in the same way. And she used music to help get her through that. So she thought about taking her own life. And so that's just heavy stuff with cyberbullying and anxiety. Like you said, just what could happen going to school. Well, who's going to pick on me in school? But then anxiety at home because who's going to text me and send me pictures and make fun of. That's really, really heavy with all
Yeah.
the suicides and all the anxiety.
I think connectedness is key here. But when I say connectedness, I don't mean social media connections, because those aren't real connections as such. Many of these people that have followers, they don't really know these people. They're just like an avatar online. But when I say connectedness, I mean being connected with either your family, your community, that's like church, school. Because when we're connected, we start to realize that we have more in common than what we do not have in common. And then we start to recognize the humanity in others as well, and also be more forgiving of our own selves too. So with more connectedness, we will treat each other better. So that bullying, why are you bullying somebody else in your class? It's because you think they are nothing. But, when you see them as, another human, a girl just like you, a friend, maybe, then it all improves our mental health, really. And, like we say in integrative medicine is whole person care that involves both conventional and non-conventional medical ways of providing that care. And whole person care is like the physical, mental, emotional, social, environmental. So that's the environmental aspect, that culture that can also be instrumental in improving our mental health and in the way we treat each other.
Great. I currently practicing in a new city since we talked last, and it's in a college. It's in Auburn, and I'm surprised. I get a lot of college students, and part of the history I want to know if there's any depression or anxiety, and I'm really surprised about how many students actually come in with different degrees of anxiety or depression, and some taking some heavy medication for it. And the other thing I was surprised at, I kind of observed the surroundings of the university, and there's a lot of clinical psychiatrists and counselors that kind of have offices surrounding the campus. So it actually is a big deal. And I guess what I would want to ask from you is, so our viewers can get something out of this, whether it's a student or a parent of a young student. What are some action steps that you would recommend for them to handle their anxiety and handle their depression? What would you recommend from your training?
it's more in-depth when we see patients. It's not like a conventional doctor that you go in and in 6 minutes you're done with the visit. This is a longer type of visit. Your intake could be an hour long. And that's because we want to get to know the person on a personal level and then learn about their disease as it layers on top of that human that's beneath it. So it takes, a while to gather all that data. But what I would say in terms of, having all these mental health practitioners and stuff, or people having mental health conditions is, oh God, I have a lot to say. And I don't want to just go off topic, but first and foremost is finding the cause of it where that's possible. So we like to throw medicines at things just because of how our medical system is paid for and how it's incentivized. But the first step is always to dig deep for a cause where that exists. So do tests. Are you iron deficient? Is it your hormones that's out of whack? Like what's going on there? A lot of at least in my own practice, a lot of the teens I see who are depressed have actually suffered some type of trauma. So maybe sexual abuse or physical abuse at home. Very recently, I saw a kid who was suffering from food insecurity and all sorts of things going on, neglect. So, getting to the bottom of those things might help us provide the appropriate treatments beyond medicine. So that's one thing, like root cause. The other thing is, I feel like we throw the word anxiety and depression around too casually, including me. Sometimes I'm like, oh yeah, I'm depressed. But,
Yeah.
depression is a definition. There's a psychiatric definition for depression. There's a duration of time. There are the classic symptoms that we need to have. So if you have those symptoms over this period of time, then you're depressed. But if you're down because your grandmother died, I don't think you're depressed, you're sad, right? So also ensuring that the diagnosis is correct, and then we're investigating the cause of it. And then even though we're using those words, are we calling what is not what is, So there's that aspect of it as well. And then it's from the personal level, from the person level, alignment with the self, which I'm still working on how to frame that for a smaller child. But let's say we're talking to a young adult or a teenager. When we come back to the self, it's easier for us to start to figure out what's important for us, what's going on well that we can be grateful for, and then marshal our energies towards pursuing those things. That's how we can prioritize the things that truly matter in our lives. Okay, so I like to hang out with my friends and, I don't know, drink alcohol, but is that really working, or is it exacerbating my depression the next morning? So we start to make those small, steady lifestyle things that can enhance our wellness. So anti-inflammatory foods are good for that because it's what you eat that you work with. If you fuel your body with foods that nourish and heal, your mind too would benefit from that as well. So those nourishment things can also help the mind. Adequate sleep, stress reduction techniques. So if I'm anxious and I'm tracking this Epstein news aggressively, now I don't know who to trust anymore, right? But so you may have to wean yourself from social media, delete that app from your phone, and refocus that energy into other stuff. Meditate, pray, music, hang out with your friends that are doing positive things, not doing drugs and hurting your body. So those kinds of things. I think there's just a lot going on.
It seems like a lot of the students, whether they're in college or even in grade school, seem to be on social media quite a bit, and there's a lot of comparing. Dr. Mike introduced me to a class called The Science of Well-Being, and that was a Yale class, and they talked all about social media and how people are so influenced by other posts, and they compare themselves, and they actually become a little bit depressed on that. And one of the instructors for one of the classes had just gotten rid of his smartphone, used an old-fashioned phone to keep himself away from social media and also keep himself away from news. And he had indicated that his affect of life definitely changed. I'm sure you're seeing the same types of things.
I haven't met someone in my circle that has done that, but honestly, I've toyed with the idea of doing that too. In fact, I shared that with my brother who I spent time with last weekend. I need to get rid of my phone and get a flip phone, or maybe have my smartphone for the weekends, because again, I'm trying to build an online presence. And how do you do that? So it's kind of tricky to navigate since everything is going online. But there are so many people in my circle that have, deleted their social media apps, whether temporarily or they delete, go and come back. All of a sudden, I don't see them anymore. And then they come back. So people take that step back from time to time to clear their mental health, clear their emotions, and just ground themselves. Um, there are many studies out there and news reports too that tell us that the designers of these platforms design it to be sticky, to be addictive. So it's not surprising that this thing is not good for her health, because that's the way to make money off these platforms. So we also need to defend ourselves by controlling the time we spend on there and the exposure to it, especially for children, those children that are even more impressionable than we are. What age should they be before they get on social media or before they even get a phone? Those are conversations we need to have as a society.
Yeah,
Interesting. Thank you.
in our town, this is the second school year that the high school isn't allowing cell phones in the classroom. So my daughter graduated last year, and that was the first year, and most students had a positive response to it. That's a start. It's a start. Yeah, Dr. Gordy, the science of well-being, it's the happiness course. It's the most popular class at Yale University,
Wow.
and they talk about happiness and then stress reduction techniques like Dr. Akande shared with us and things. I want to share one thing, and then I have a follow-up question, Dr. Akande. I learned this today. That's kind of got me thinking about stress and anxiety and different things. Someone shared with me this music by Marconi Union, Marconi, Marconi Union. It's called Weightless. There's peer review research that says 3 minutes listening to this song reduces your fight or flight, anxiety, stress response back into parasympathetic balance. 3 minutes of it. You can watch it on YouTube, and you could have it on your phone technically. And if you're stressed or anxious, you could listen to it. And I thought that was really, really powerful. Marconi Union, Weightless. And then also I learned that kaleidoscope visuals on YouTube, and they usually have classical and other relaxing music, that really dials down the sympathetic stress response too. So you could have some of this non-word music playing while you're doing homework or while you're doing things. I told this to a teacher, and they were going to see if they could play it in the classroom and during tests. So people get anxiety for taking a test and doing other things. And white coat syndrome, if their blood pressure, they can get anxiety because of the blood pressure test. So I just wanted to share that with you too. And then does Ayurveda have any strategies for mindfulness that could help digestion and or the stress response? What do they recommend to calm the mind and the body down and the nervous system?
Yeah, let me respond real quick to the music comment you made, because for me, a strong believer in music therapy. Unfortunately, in my program, it wasn't a major course that we did. It was just like a subject or a topic in a course. But there are Vedic music too. They made us listen to it. First, we did our pulse, listened for 10 minutes, checked our pulse again. And, you can see the obvious difference when that happens. And music for me, I don't want to become too woo-woo in telling what I have experienced personally, but honestly, the way it affects my sleep, the way it affects my studies, there's a YouTube channel that I found. I think it's called Deep Focus. It has like 3 million viewers on it. Sometimes when I really need to do deep work, I tune to it and listen. And then it's like you're working together, right? There are periods when it's like, okay, now let's take a 10-minute break. So you quickly do a 10-minute break. You can go to the bathroom, you can refill your coffee cup or whatever, and then come back to listen again. So from the Ayurvedic way to decrease stress, and then maybe I need to define stress also, because I feel like people get confused when I'm having that conversation about stress. Stress is not only what you feel that, oh, I feel stressed. It's the name we give to the chemical processes that happen in the body when the body is out of balance or when the body is facing physical or perceived threats. That's stress. So you may not necessarily feel it like stress here, but it's really still affecting your body. So like the clenched teeth, clammy palms, sweaty armpits, your shoulders are up, shallow, fast breathing. Those are all symptoms somebody might feel when they are stressed. And there are also the internal aspects where maybe you're having a bit of indigestion or cramping, or some people may have the urge to run to the bathroom to pee or to poo. Those are all signs and symptoms of stress, like on the moderate to severe level. But there's still also the simmering stress that might be missed if one is not connected to their body. So in Ayurveda, managing stress is holistic. It's about living one's life in alignment with nature. So nighttime, go to bed by 10 latest. Wake up with the sun in the morning by 6. So when we realign that our sleep-wake cycle with nature, there's also a way we feed off of nature. Nature also feeds off of us, and for well, that's just the way it is. So that cycle, and then also the food as well. Our feeding too has to be in alignment with nature, like we talked about earlier. And then the other things we do in Ayurveda to help with stress include the Vedic music I talked about, yoga. Yoga is solid. For people that really want to go down this path, yoga is something that we need to do every single day. And there are yoga routines that you can do within 10, 12 minutes. So yoga, when you translate it, it means union. And union means mind-body connection. When your mind and your body are connected, that's your stress is going down. So yoga is very, very good. And there are different yoga practices people can do. Pranayama is another one. That's like breath work, alternate nostril breathing. That can also kind of reset your brain and bring that sense of calm. So I've talked about the music, the yoga, the pranayama, abhyanga. Abhyanga helps with stress. That's self-massage. So you're not going to a massage therapy. You're doing it at home using sesame oil or depending on your dosha type, other types of oil. And there's a short version where you massage your hands, your temples, face, and your feet. And all this can be done within 15 minutes. This is really, really relaxing, really therapeutic. But more than that, it also helps your joints. It helps with pain. It helps with digestion because if your stress goes down, your digestion is better as well. Because when stress goes up, attention leaves the digestive system. Now you're in fight or flight. So Abhyanga is another thing there. And then there are herbs that one might use to help with stress. A very popular one is ashwagandha. It can help you to sleep. It can help to give you energy, to mention a few.
Yeah, wow, there's a lot to unpack there and a lot of action steps. So thank you for sharing that. Just one, like yoga, two, breathing, music, herbs.
Mhm.
I mean, that's powerful stuff. So I think people can, re-listen to this and watch this and really take notes. And thank you for sharing all those action steps. Very powerful stuff.
I have just a comment. I looked up Ayurveda, and I like the philosophy. The health is balance, not the absence of disease. Preventing illness before it appears, strengthening digestion, building resilience and vitality, treating the person, not just the symptoms. That's some pretty powerful stuff there. And I think the trend of medicine is going that way. And sometimes we don't always know how to get there, but I'd say it's a pretty good philosophy. I have a follow-up question here. What surprises you most about kids' health today?
That's a good one. I don't think I've reflected on before now. But what surprises me most, I feel like It's the presence of disease conditions that I thought would be more adult focused, like the depression we talked about and the anxiety. Because, like, what is a 5-year-old anxious about? Like, I don't understand. What's going on in your life that's making you anxious? Like, why?
Yeah.
What do you know? You're not even paying taxes. So, that's one thing that comes to mind, those types of diagnoses that we're seeing more and more of in the pediatric population. Um, the others, I would say, it's probably behavioral, where I see kids that, and again, it's cultural, right? Kids that are not patient with themselves, and I say it with adults too. So you'll see a teenager that just had surgery, and day 2 to day 3 of post surgery, they want their pain to be zero. And next week, they want to go back to playing football.
Hmm.
Like, no, you just had a major life event. So can you just take a breath, be patient with yourself, give your belly the opportunity to heal? Sometimes I need to be graphic in describing to them what has happened. I'll be like, you know what? A surgeon literally cut you open. So they cut through skin, subcutaneous tissue, fascia, stripped out your momentum, found an organ, cut it open, took out the disease part out, stitched you back. So that's a lot of things. All these layers need to heal. And all those things as they heal, there's inflammation, there's pain, there's warmth. So be patient with yourself. Give yourself time to heal and recover. And obviously pain is another cultural thing where I feel like as a society today, we have that expectation that we'll never suffer or experience pain. We have this weird relationship with pain. Meanwhile, pain is a part of life. A lot of good things that happen in life also involve pain. So just changing that relationship with pain and not seeing it as something to be rooted out at all costs can also be instrumental. Even for our mental health, can be instrumental in how we experience our mental health as well, how we experience our bodies.
Thank you for sharing. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. Power-packed information. Well, Dr. Akande, our time is coming to an end. Do you have any final words of wisdom? And then how can people reach out to you and learn more about Ayurveda or work with you in the future?
I think I'll end on still that note of patience. So patience is not just waiting and not doing anything, but it's giving the body time to adapt to the small changes we're making to be healthier. So if you start walking, don't expect that in a week you would have lost weight. So give yourself time, give your body time to respond to this new thing that you're changing. So patience with ourselves in the language we use when describing ourselves, our thought process is how we think about ourselves. Just be patient, be more compassionate towards yourself. And honestly, with that self-compassion, it's easier to be compassionate towards others in our community and just be more loving, be more kind. That's I guess takeaway message. And the way for people to find me, on Instagram, it's at harmony360health.com. I'm also on Substack. I write a blog where I discuss all these things that we've discussed today. And I think it's at Harmony 360 Health as well. Substack at harmony360health.com. Or maybe just Google my name with Substack, Tokunbo Akande, Substack, you'll find me. And then I also have a website, www.harmony360health.com. Those are ways to find me online.
Great. Thank you for sharing that and many ways to connect with you and listen to your messages and read your blog, etc. So, wow, wealth of information as always. I know we could go on for hours and hours and hours, and but yeah, Dr. Gordy, I like the philosophy of this. I mean, it's not a new philosophy; it's thousands of years old, and people are still just learning about it. So, I really loved all the information and your ending with patience and self-compassion, so then we can show compassion to others. That's really needed today. And love thyself and love thy neighbor. And I love that. I like to finish by just asking our viewers what your number one takeaway is, and also what's your number one action step based on what Dr. Akande said. What are you going to take action on based on what he shared with us today? And lots of ways that you can take action to improve yourself and or help your friends and family. So again, Dr. Akande, thank you for sharing so much from your heart and so much wisdom that you've had in your many degrees and seeing and helping so many people. So thanks again for sharing.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always awesome having this conversation with you guys. So thanks for the invitation.
Yeah, grateful for you, Dr. Akande. Love your passion, love your information. Please subscribe to our podcast here. We'll have more guests just like Dr. Akande, more health information. So subscribe to us, like our content, and we'll see you next time for another episode right here on the Health Angle Podcast. Until then, we'll see you.
Thank you for joining us on the Health Angle Podcast. Please subscribe to our channel and catch us for our next episode.